Guys, this is July the 10th. A student asked me to do something from 6.4. It's this problem, okay, right here. I'm going to read the text. Yeah, it says often frequency distributions are reported using unequal class widths. Because the frequencies of some groups would otherwise be small or very large, consider the following data, which represents the daytime household temperature. The thermostat is set to when someone is home. Thermostat is set to when someone is home for a random sample of clearly determined sample, right? 747 households. Okay, fine. So we're going to find sample standard deviation, sample standard mean. Again, if you click this, the data will come out in an Excel form. You have to save it as Excel, and I did. So I'm going to basically, I think what the people are struggling with, whoever it is finding this midpoint, right? So let me see. To find the midpoints, okay, um, I'm going to write M here, midpoint. These class lengths are unequal. To find the midpoint, you're going to do 61 plus 65 divided by 2, except for the last one. Okay, so we're going to say 61 plus 65 and the whole thing divided by 2. Now this one, I'm going to say 80. And I'm going to write 80 here. If you do 81, you'll be fine. Okay. This is 77 through 70, 77 through 80. I'm going to take 80. You're thinking I could have taken 81, right? And you can, it'll be slightly off. This is the answer your book is asking for. And I don't know why your book did that, but that's right answer. I'm going to show you right now. Okay. My answers are here. Take a look. Classmate bond 79. Okay, so it is taking it 81. So let's go over it again. So we are consistent. Every time I click, the answer changes. That scares me a little bit. Let's go over how to calculate the midpoint. Okay, it does not matter whether the intervals are the same length or not. What you do is you take the lower limit. This is the lower limit. This is only 70. That's the lower limit. Okay, you take 61 plus 65 divided by 2 is 63. 65 plus 68 divided by 2 is 66.3. Here, the next one would have started at 81. We took 77 plus 81 divided by 2. We got 79. Now that you have the midpoints and you add the frequencies, this is given. I think it should amount to 780 if that's what they're saying. I hope so. 747. Let's see. That's what they're saying. There's 747 households. So far, so good. All right. So it's a long problem. Be a little patient. I have to find the mean. So instead of the intervals, I'm going to choose my midpoints. I'm going to put the frequencies here again. It's just for convenience. I like it that way. I'm going to write frequency. All right. So to find the mean, you're going to multiply the midpoints by the frequencies. I'm doing it here. We are finding the mean. And I have to find the sum here. Sum. I'm going to write sum. And my sum is going to be all of this. And this is my sum. I'm going to divide it by the frequency, the sum of the frequencies. Okay. So my mean, let's put the mean here. The mean, which is something I will need. The mean is going to be this sum divided by the frequency, like you would do. Sum of the frequency. This is my mean, 70.781. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back. 70.781 I got. They're saying 70.8. We're good. All right. Now, I have to find the standard deviation. It's going to be sample standard deviation, right? Because it clearly says it's a sample. Let's go ahead and do it. This is the mean. I'm going to do it on the right-hand side just to keep things simple. I'm going to bring the midpoint here. I'm going to bring the frequency here. I don't have to, but I like to keep things separate. Okay. So remember, guys, from each data point, you're going to subtract the mean, then you're going to square it, then you're going to multiply it by the frequency. Keep that in mind. This is your midpoint. This is your frequency. And this is your mean. We're finding the standard deviation now. Let me bring it down so that the numbers are correct. All right. All right. It's not as bad as you seem. It's not as bad as it seems. I will go over how to find the midpoint once again, so don't worry. Follow through. I'm going to, again, get the mean. Okay. Now, remember, guys, in this column, I'm going to take each midpoint, subtract the mean, square it, and multiply it by the frequency. And since I'm doing Excel, it's not really that difficult. I can do it. Midpoint minus the same mean, the whole thing squared, and then multiplied by the frequency. And here's the frequency, and you can't mess this up. I mean, you can, but you don't want to. Now, I'm going to find the sum. I'm going to write sum here of this column. I'm going to do it as follows. All right, I found the sum. I'm going to divide it by 747 minus 1 here. I'm finding the standard deviation. So I'm going to take the same thing, sample standard deviation. All right, so I'm going to take this sum right here. I'm going to divide it by, I'm just going to divide it by 746. 746. And then I have to find the square root of that. Might as well do it now. Square root of something is simply raised to the power 0.5. I'm getting 3.1122. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's go check the answer. 3.5. I'm happy. Okay. Once again, you can find intervals or classes that have different lengths. Don't worry. It's the same principle. You start with the two consecutive lower limits divided by 2. The last one is going to be a little hard. So the last one, you can conjecture what it could have been. Clearly, it will be 81, right? If 77 through 80 is the last class interval, the next last interval would have started with 81. You use that. Then you find the midpoints and everything else is like you would expect. So I think we got our answers right. I hope that helps. We are now going to start. 3.5. The good news is 3.5 is a fairly easy chapter, very easy. I'm going to walk you through a couple of slides because these are hard to draw. So it's called a five number summary. What is a 5-number summary? Let's find out. Okay. A 5-number summary is the minimum point, the maximum point, Q1, Q2, Q3, and they're writing M because Q2 is M. We learned in the past how to find Q1, Q2, Q3. Maximum and minimum, they are the lowest and the highest of the data set. Piece of cake. How do we draw? How do we represent these 5 numbers? I'll show you. It's called a box and whiskers plot. This picture didn't come from your book, but it's a good enough picture. What's a box and whisker plot? Let me see. This is what it is. So first, I will have to find Q1, Q2, Q3. This is Q2. And on a scale, it could be done horizontally. Sometimes it's done vertically. I'm going to mark my Q1. I'm going to mark my Q3. And then I'm going to mark my Q2. Right? They're calling it median. We'll call it median. Then I'm going to make a box around it like a rectangle, just like they did here. All right. Then I'm going to label my max. I'm going to label my min. Now, at this point, remember, guys, how we found outliers. So to find outliers, we found interquartile range. Then we did the left fence. Then we did the right fence. Anything on the right-hand side of the right fence was an outlier. Anything on the left-hand side of the lower fence or left fence was our outlier. If you have an outlier, you can put your fence somewhere here. If this is the upper fence, this is the lower fence. Clearly, the minimum value is an outlier. So most in box and whisker plots, we don't see the upper and lower fences, but your book talks about a little. Your book kind of talks about it. I'll show you where it does. So be aware of it. That's all. This is a box and whisker plot. You have all the theories, really. This is not a difficult section. I'll mention one thing right here. So this is a slide from your book. It's a good slide, and it's in your books. I'm not gonna walk you through. So they are marking the lower fence and upper fence. They're kind of helping you see how things are. In the final one, they erased it. There is no lower fence, upper fence. You can leave it there. So this is an outlier. They're kind of trying to tell you. Okay, this point is an outlier. Nothing serious. This is a relatively easy section. The only thing I will kind of go over with you guys is this. If you can find the mean, the middle one is the median. If the mean is on the right, and this is something we discussed, but I'll repeat, if the mean is on somewhere, now to find to draw the box and whisker plot, you don't need to know the mean. All right. But let's say you know the mean, they gave you the mean, or you calculated it, you know how to find it. If the mean is on the right of the median, we say it's skewed, the data is skewed towards the right. If the mean is on the left-hand side of the median, we say it's skewed towards the left. That's what we say. That means it's right heavy, it's left heavy. There will be a couple of problems like that. And other than that, this section is about how box and whisker plots are used, how to read them, how to draw them. And it's based on interquartile range, lower quartile, upper quartile is Q3, lower quartile is Q1, and median, which is also Q2, and you need to know max and min. Now, in most cases, you will see the problems I have assigned. They will give you a box and whisker plot, and you'll have to read it. I don't think they'll ask you to draw it. If they do, they will say find the right one. So I don't think you'll struggle with this section. We're going to, of course, keep our fingers crossed. You want to see some of the examples in the book, try some of the problems. I don't think I assigned too many problems from this section because there aren't enough hard problems. They're very basic. It's a basic section. It's not bad. You get a short break. Some of the sections we have done in the past were a little rigorous. So this is not a bad time. I think we're wrapping up chapter 3. This was 3.5, and I'm going to call it today. But again, if you have any problem with the MATLAB problems, please email me. Clearly mention your course. I teach 3 classes, and ideally send me a screenshot. And most of you know how to send something to your teacher. You've been doing a good job. I get a link. I click the link. I see the problem. So everything is going well with me, and hopefully with you guys too. If you want something, just holler. I'm here. All right, guys. I'll see you next class. We did have a short class today, and that's not a bad thing.